My name is Elijah James Monroe. People call me Eli. I am 97 years old. Born in a shotgun house in Sunflower County, Mississippi in 1929. Sharecropper's son. Gospel preacher for 61 years. Father of 9 children. Grandfather of 41 and great-grandfather of more than I can count on both hands. And I'm about to tell you something that's going to make every dietitian, every nutritionist, every doctor with a fancy diploma on their wall slam their fist on their desk. I have eaten the same 4 foods my entire life. Not 40 years like some people, my entire life. And I am 97 years old. I still preach every Sunday morning. Still walk to my mailbox and back without stopping. Still sleep 8 hours straight. Still remember every word of every sermon I've ever given. Now, before you scroll away, before you go back to whatever it is you do on that phone, I want you to sit with me for a minute. Pull up a chair. Get comfortable. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just about food. It's about everything. It's about why people die before they're supposed to, and why most of the sickness you're carrying around with you right now has nothing to do with what you eat and everything to do with how you're living. But we'll get to that. First, let me tell you about the food. I grew up dirt poor. I want to make that clear so you understand where this comes from. We weren't middle-class people cutting back. We were sharecroppers in Mississippi in the 1930s. There were days we didn't eat at all. Days my mother cried quietly in the kitchen because there was nothing to put in front of us. I remember that sound. A mother crying so her children don't hear. That sound stays with you. That sound shapes you. So when I tell you I found 4 foods that have kept me alive and strong for 97 years, understand that these weren't fancy choices. They weren't chosen from a menu. They were chosen from necessity, from the land, from what God put right in front of us, and they work. Food number 1, slow-cooked pork. Every single day of my life. Neck bones, hocks, shoulder, ribs, whatever part of the pig we had. Cooked low and slow over heat, sometimes for 6-7 hours until the meat falls off the bone and the marrow is running free in the pot. They told me in 1978 that pork was killing me. Dr. Calloway at the county hospital. Good man, not a bad doctor. He sat me down and told me I needed to stop eating pork immediately. Said my arteries looked like they were full of grease. Said I'd be dead within 10 years if I kept going. I told Dr. Calloway respectfully that my father ate pork every day of his life and died at 84. That my grandfather ate pork every day of his life and died at 79, which in 1910 Mississippi was practically immortal. I told him the people who raised me, who worked in the fields from sun up to sundown, who built everything they had with their bare hands, they all ate pork every single day. Dr. Calloway died in 1993. He was 67 years old. I'm still here eating my pork. Now let me tell you what slow-cooked pork actually is, because they don't teach you this in school. When you cook a bone for hours, when you let that collagen break down, when you let the marrow release into the liquid, you are making one of the most healing things a human body can consume. Your joints are made of collagen. Your gut lining is made of collagen. Your skin, your tendons, everything that holds you together is collagen. And slow-cooked bone-in pork gives you more usable collagen than anything they're selling in those little capsules at the pharmacy for $18 a bottle. My mother had beautiful skin until the day she died at 86. No wrinkles to speak of. People thought she was 60. She ate pork every day. That wasn't a coincidence. That was collagen. They want you scared of pork. You know why? Because pork is cheap. Because you can get a pound of neck bones for $1.50. You can't patent that. You can't sell that in a fancy bottle with a celebrity on the label. So they told you it was dangerous, and you believed them. And now you're buying collagen supplements and bone broth powder and all these things that cost $40, $50, and it's the same thing your great-grandmother made in a pot every Tuesday for free. I cook mine simple: salt, black pepper, and onion and thyme. That's it. No recipe, no measuring, just patience. Food number 2, black-eyed peas. Every day, a big bowl, cooked from dry, not from a can, never from a can. They told me legumes had too many carbohydrates. This was in the 90s when everyone went crazy about carbs. I had a young doctor, couldn't have been 30 years old, told me to eliminate beans from my diet entirely. I looked at that young man and said, "Son, how old are you?" He said, "I'm 32. I said, "I was eating black-eyed peas before your father was born. Come back and talk to me when you've been alive as long as I have. Then I'll consider your opinion." He didn't like that very much. But here's the thing about black-eyed peas. Here's what nobody tells you. They were brought to this country from West Africa. My ancestors carried the knowledge of those peas across the ocean in the middle of unimaginable suffering. They survived on those peas. They survived on the wisdom of how to cook them, how to eat them, what they did for your body. That knowledge was passed from mother to daughter to granddaughter for 300 years. And some 32-year-old doctor with a textbook wants me to throw it away. Black-eyed peas have more fiber than almost anything you can eat. And fiber is not just about your stomach. Fiber feeds the bacteria in your gut. And your gut, let me tell you something they don't put on the news. Your gut is your second brain. Everything you feel, your mood, your energy, your clarity of thought, it all starts in your gut. You feed your gut right, everything works. You destroy your gut with processed food and antibiotics and stress. Everything breaks down. I've kept my gut healthy for 97 years because of those peas. I cook them with the pork. Everything goes in the same pot. The peas soak up the fat, the collagen, the minerals from the bone. By the time it's done, it's not just food, it's medicine. Food number 3, sweet potatoes, every day, baked or boiled with the skin on, skin and all, you eat the skin. I have heard more nonsense about sweet potatoes than almost any other food. They said the sugar would give me diabetes. They said they were high glycemic. They said all kinds of things. And I kept eating my sweet potatoes, and I kept walking out of every doctor's office with blood sugar numbers that made them quiet. You want to know what a sweet potato is? It's the sun, stored in the ground. That's not poetry, that's biology. A sweet potato grows in the soil, drinking minerals from the earth, collecting energy from the sun through its leaves, and it stores all of that in a bright orange package that your body knows exactly what to do with. Beta-carotene, potassium, vitamin C, B6, magnesium. It's not a side dish, it's a pharmacy. My people in Mississippi ate sweet potatoes because they were cheap and they grew easy in the southern soil. What we didn't know, what our bodies knew before the science caught up, was that we were eating one of the most nutrient-dense foods on this earth. You know who else eats sweet potatoes every day? The people of Okinawa, Japan. Some of the longest-lived people on the planet. They've been eating a purple variety of sweet potato for thousands of years. And scientists fly over there with their clipboards trying to figure out the secret. The secret is the sweet potato. But that doesn't sell a supplement, so they keep looking. I bake mine in a cast iron pan. Takes about an hour. I eat 2 of them a day, sometimes 3. Never gets old. Every sweet potato tastes a little different depending on the soil and the season. After 97 years, I'm still finding new things to notice. Food number 4, whole buttermilk, every day, a glass with every meal. Not the stuff from the store in the quart containers, real buttermilk. What's left after you churn butter from cream. Thick, alive, tart, full of things your body needs. My grandmother made buttermilk. My mother made buttermilk. I watched them do it when I was a boy. I've been drinking it since before I had all my teeth. And every few decades, some new study comes out saying dairy is terrible. Dairy causes inflammation. Dairy is only for baby cows. And I drink my buttermilk and wait for the next study that says the opposite, because it always comes. Real buttermilk has probiotics in it that no capsule can replicate. It has phosphorus for your bones. It has riboflavin for your energy. It has everything God put in milk before we decided we could do it better with machines. The fermentation process makes it easier to digest than regular milk and creates compounds that protect your gut lining. My grandmother didn't know the word probiotic. She didn't need to. She knew that when her children drank buttermilk, they were strong, and when they didn't, they got sick. That was enough. 4 foods: slow-cooked pork, black-eyed peas, sweet potatoes, buttermilk. I want to tell you something now that most people never say out loud. Simple food is a decision about your life, not just your body. When you eat simple, you think simple. When you eat simple, you save money. When you eat simple, you stop spending 2 hours a day planning meals and grocery shopping and reading labels and second guessing everything and feeling guilty about what you ate yesterday. You free yourself. People spend more time thinking about food than they spend thinking about God, about their children, about their neighbors. You got people on their phones at the dinner table looking up whether a tomato is keto friendly. Meanwhile, the children sitting across from them are learning that a phone is more important than they are. That's not a nutrition problem. That's a soul problem. I don't have a soul problem. I never did. And I think that's the other half of why I'm still here. Let me tell you about my friend Cornelius. Cornelius Washington, born 1 year after me. We grew up together, sharecropper sons, went to the same church, married women who were best friends. Cornelius was a healthy man physically, ate right, didn't drink, didn't smoke, but Cornelius carried bitterness like it was his inheritance. His father had been cheated out of some land in the 40s by a white landowner, and Cornelius never let it go. Every conversation, every dinner table, every Sunday after church, it came back to that land, that injustice, that wrong. Now, was he right to be angry? Yes. What happened was wrong, genuinely wrong. But Cornelius let that wrong live inside him every day for 50 years. It became the furniture of his mind. He rearranged it, but he never threw it out. Cornelius died at 74. The doctors said it was his heart, and they were right, just not the way they meant it. I'm not telling you to forget what was done to you. I'm not telling you to pretend injustice didn't happen. It did. Some of you in this audience have carried real pain, real wounds, things done to you that should never have been done. But there is a difference between remembering and carrying. You can remember what happened and put it down. You can know what was done and choose not to carry it in your body every day, to chew on it, to let it marinate in you. The body keeps score. Every doctor I've ever spoken to, the honest ones, they know this. Chronic stress, chronic anger, chronic grief, they create inflammation. They disrupt sleep. They weaken the immune system. They age you faster than any food ever could. I decided a long time ago that I was not going to let what the world did to me determine how long I lived. That was my rebellion. Not marching, not fighting, though both those things have their place. My rebellion was choosing to be free on the inside, even when the outside tried everything it could to cage me. I am 97 years old, still preaching every Sunday, and that is my testimony. Now, the other thing that keeps people alive, and I've watched enough people die to know this, is purpose. Not happiness, purpose. Happiness is a feeling, comes and goes like weather. You can't build a life on a feeling. But purpose is a structure. It holds you up when the feelings are all wrong. I have been a preacher for 61 years. You want to know why I kept going even after I lost my first wife? my second wife, two of my children, my best friend, my brother, my sister, everything a man can lose, because on Sunday morning there were people waiting for me. There were people in those pews who needed something I had. That need pulled me out of bed every single week when I would rather have stayed under the covers and given up. Find something that needs you, not something you enjoy, something that needs you. A child, a community, a craft, a garden, a mission. When something needs you, you stay, because leaving would mean letting it down. I've seen people retire and die within 2 years. Good, healthy people who hit 65, got their gold watch, said, now I'm going to rest, and rested right into the grave, because their body, once it understood there was no more reason to perform, stopped performing. Don't rest, shift. Find the new thing that needs you and go to it. Let me tell you about my daughter, Clara. Clara is my third child. She's 71 years old now. A few years ago, she got very sick. The doctors found something in her that scared all of us. And for about 3 months, she went through some hard treatment that made her very weak. Every day during those 3 months, I drove to her house and brought her a pot of what I cooked. The pork, the peas, the sweet potatoes, the buttermilk on the side. Every single day. She didn't ask me to. I just did it, because that's what you do. You show up. You bring the pot. You sit at the table, even when the table is a hospital tray and the light is fluorescent and nobody feels like talking. One day she looked at me from her bed and said, Daddy, why do you keep bringing this food? I can't even taste it. I said, baby, your body can taste it even when your mouth can't. I'm not feeding your tongue, I'm feeding your blood. She got better. Now, was it the food? I'd be a lying a fool to say it was only the food. It was her doctors. It was her faith. It was her children praying. It was her husband who barely left her side. It was all of it together. But I'll tell you this, when she came out on the other side and she stood at my church and gave her testimony, she said something I'll never forget. She said, every day when I smelled that pot coming through the door, I knew someone was fighting for me, and so I fought too. That's what food is. When it comes from love, it's not just nutrition, it's a message. It says, you are worth the hours it takes to make this. You are worth the effort. You matter enough for this pot. Feed people, not just from your kitchen. Feed them with your presence, with your time, with the message that they are worth showing up for. I'm going to say something now that some of you won't want to hear. Most of you are not sick, you're bored. I mean that with all the love in my heart. I've counseled people for 60 years. I've sat with people in the deepest valleys, and I have learned to tell the difference between someone who is truly suffering and someone who is suffering because they have nothing worthy to suffer for. When you're busy doing something that matters, you don't have time to obsess over your symptoms. You don't have time to spend 3 hours on the internet looking up everything that could be wrong with you. You don't have time to feel sorry for yourself from morning to night. I'm not talking about real illness. Real illness is real. I've had it. My family has had it. I would never minimize it. I'm talking about the low-grade misery that so many people carry around like a badge. The constant tiredness that isn't medical, it's existential. The anxiety that isn't a disorder, it's a warning. Your body warning you that you are not living the life you were made for. The cure for that isn't a supplement. It isn't even 4 foods. The cure is deciding to live. People ask me all the time, what's the secret to living to 97? And they want me to say one thing. They want the magic word, the secret formula. Here it is. Here's the whole formula. Eat food that came from the ground or from an animal that ate things from the ground. Not from a factory, not from a laboratory, not from a box with a cartoon character on it. Love people without keeping score. Give more than you take. Show up when it's inconvenient. Say the thing that needs saying. Forgive fast. Hold on slow. Find something bigger than yourself and serve it until you die. Doesn't matter what it is, a church, a cause, a family, a craft. Just make sure it's bigger than your comfort and your preferences. And forgive yourself. This one is hardest. Every one of you is dragging around something you did wrong, something you should have done differently, something you wish you could take back. I know this because I've heard 10,000 confessions in my years as a preacher. And the cruelest thing I ever saw wasn't what people did to each other, it was what people did to themselves. The relentless court case they held inside their own heads, where they were always the defendant, always guilty, never pardoned. Pardon yourself. You did what you knew how to do with what you had at the time. Learn from it. Put it down. Move forward. I want to talk about one more thing before I let you go. Death. I know you don't like that word. The young never do. But I'm 97 years old. Death is not an abstraction to me. It's a neighbor. I've watched it come for nearly everyone I ever loved. My parents, my brothers and sisters, my wives, my children, my friends, my congregation. Wave after wave of them. And here's what I want you to understand. The way you live is the way you die. People who spend their lives rushing die in a rush, mid-sentence, heart still racing, faces still twisted in anxiety. People who spend their lives in bitterness die bitter, still holding the grudge, still keeping score, right up to the last breath. But people who live in peace die in peace. I've watched it. Sat at bedsides for 60 years and watched it. The ones who loved well, who forgave freely, who found their purpose and ran it all the way to the finish line, they die the way a good story ends, gradually, gently, leaving a warmth in the room even after they're gone. That's what I want. And that's what I intend to have. Not because I ate the right four foods, though I believe that it's kept this body running, but because I made a choice every decade, every year, every morning when I woke up and the world offered me reasons to be angry and afraid and small. I made a choice to be none of those things. Every morning I wake up at 5 o'clock. I go to my kitchen. I put the pork bones in the pot. I put the peas on the soap. I put the sweet potatoes in the oven. I pour my buttermilk. And I sit in my chair by the window while the sun comes up over the same Mississippi clay I've been looking at for nearly 100 years. And I say the same thing I've said every morning since I was 17 years old. Lord, thank you for another day. Now show me who needs it. That's the diet. That's the whole thing. Not what you eat for breakfast, what you wake up for. My name is Elijah James Monroe. I am 97 years old, born in Sunflower County, Mississippi, son of a sharecropper, servant of God, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-great-grandfather. I eat the same four foods every single day, and I'll be at the pulpit on Sunday. If you got something out of what I said today, share it with somebody who needs it. That's all I ask. Not for me, for them. Now go put something real in that pot.